Phil Donovan, and I'm self-employed. I own a small business, and we distribute remanufactured printer cartridges to businesses. And I'm a lifelong Concord resident. I was born here and I grew up here, and I'm still here. Love every minute of it. So I think there are two experiences of my early life that really formed my love of the outdoors. First one's a twofer. My grandparents lived in Canada, and I remember as a kid going up to visit them, and we'd drive through the Notch. And back then the Notch was a very narrow and slow road, and the Appalachian Trail crossed the road, and it just had a simple wooden sign that said Appalachian Trail, and every now and then we'd see a through hiker coming through. And as I was driving by as a kid, I said, someday I'm going to do that. And I ended up doing that. Not the Appalachian Trail, but I did end up hiking all of the 4,000 footers in the state. And I remember seeing the Old Man of the Mountains, and when I was in college I was able to get up there and actually stand on his forehead and look down, so that was kind of cool. And when we would get to Canada in the summer, my grandfather would take me fishing, and I would use a simple worm on a hook and a bobber, the worm that we grabbed the night before from his front yard. But he used a fly rod, and I always thought that was kind of interesting. And when he died, I was able to inherit the fly rod, and I hung on to that, and I did use it for a number of years. And recently I refinished that rod and passed it on to my son, so he's the third generation fly fisherman to use that rod, so that's kind of cool. And the other thing that was sort of a twofer, that trips up to Canada. But the other thing that really influenced me was my years in Boy Scouting. Really changed my life. I developed an appreciation for being outdoors. I developed the skills to be able to spend time outdoors and know what I was doing, feeling comfortable. And so the combination of those things has really defined what I do now in my spare time in terms of being outdoors and just enjoying nature. I still love getting outdoors, and I do a lot of hiking. I'm still an avid hiker. I've done all of 4,000 footers, so it's different than just a few years ago up in the White Mountains. It's crowded, so I've been seeking out less crowded places, and it's sort of been a blessing because I've been to places that are just beautiful that I might not have seen otherwise. So the crowds have forced me to seek a little bit more solitude, and it's fun finding new places to hike. And I also try to get on the water as much as possible and do some fly fishing. And there's a lot of we're blessed here. There's a lot of fly fishing to be found. Up in the north part of the country, it's some of the best trout fishing in the Northeast, and so I try to get up there whenever I can. But even locally, we can get out and find fish. So it's the one thing that I do where it's all that I'm doing. I can stand in the middle of a river and lose myself, and it's a good way to unwind and just leave things behind. So nature is a good medicine. There's no doubt about that. One of the things that I've learned really at an early age and through scouting and then through my business career is that volunteering in the community is a worthwhile way to spend some time both giving back and as a way to connect with new people. So over the years I've been involved with a number of organizations, and I'm really proud to be associated with the Wildlife Heritage Foundation of New Hampshire, my most recent volunteer acquisition. Also very involved in scouting still. I'm on the executive board for the Daniel Webster Council for the Scouts. And I'm the crew advisor for Venturing Crew here in Concord, which is a non-traditional scouting program for teens. And we developed a program around fly fishing, and we've attracted some teenagers to that, and it's a nice way to get them involved as well. I'm also the Trout Unlimited Youth Trout Camp Director. Each year we take a group of kids up to the north part of the state and teach them how to fly fish, teach them about ecology and fish habitats, and start teaching them an appreciation for cold water fisheries. And on the business side, I'm involved in the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce as a volunteer, the ambassador for them. So I can stay pretty busy. There's lots of things to do around the community. I think it's very important that we pass on from my generation to the next generation what we've learned, share with them our mistakes that we've made in terms of squandering our natural resources. So I've spent a lot of time over the past 20-25 years working with kids to try to instill in them a passion for the outdoors through my work in scouting and the TU Trout Camp. And I think if we can do that, we do the next generation a favor by teaching them about the things that we love, and in turn hope that they develop a big, massive love for the natural resources. And we can also teach them the responsibility for doing the same for their next generation as well. So getting kids involved is sort of easy because being outdoors is natural for a kid. So if we just give them the opportunities, they take advantage of it, and they just run with the ball. Seeing a kid catch a fish for the first time, or seeing them spend an overnight in a tent away from their parents for the first time in the outdoors and cooking a meal, that's all a good way to teach a kid how important it is to work at saving our natural resources so they're there for the next generation to come. So I've heard about the Heritage Foundation in my travels. Angus Bozeman, who's a longtime board member, and he's been a friend of mine for 40 years, cornered me every now and then to talk about the work that he was doing with the foundation. And I got a call from him about a year and a half ago maybe, asking me if I wanted to take on another volunteer opportunity. I didn't have time at the time to do it, so I sort of pushed him off a little bit, but Angus is a little bit persistent, and I couldn't say no for too long, so he did try me again, and I guess he knew that I was clearing some time out of my calendar, and he took me out to lunch and twisted my arm just enough so that I decided that I would get involved, and I'm glad I did. At the time I was just stepping off as the chairman of the Concord Heritage Commission. So I was freeing up some time there, and I guess Angus might have caught wind of that, so the timing was perfect. But the foundation is an awesome opportunity, and it fit in with the kind of work that I want to be doing right now in terms of volunteering. And so I accepted it, and I'm glad I did. I'm looking forward to working with the foundation. So I joined the foundation last fall, and I wanted to take the first year to kind of look at what the foundation is doing, how it operates, what Fish and Game does and how they operate, and how the two mesh. So I've been kind of looking around and poking the tires and asking some questions. But I hope that my work will help to make more connections in the community, in the larger community around the state, and really connect people and their money, obviously, to the foundation so that we can help the department fill some of the gaps that they obviously have. And the better we can do that, the better the department can do the work for us in terms of saving our resources. So my goal is really to start making those connections. I have a pretty good understanding of how we might do some of those things, and we've embarked on some projects that I'm very excited about, and everybody will be hearing about as we move forward. So just doing that kind of work and increasing the visibility and the scope of our fundraising efforts is really what I want to be doing for the next foreseeable future.